Welcome to the OYNB podcast. My name is Rory Fairbairns. Today I am joined by one of our wonderful members, Joe. Joe has been a very successful entrepreneur, incredibly driven, and the wonderful thing about Joe is she puts down a lot of that focus, energy, drive, passion, etc. To helping get alcohol free, which of course OYNB was a part of that journey. It's a really inspiring story. Joe is great fun. You're going to enjoy this podcast. So welcome to the show, Joe. Today I am joined by Joe. Joe is a mum, an accomplished executive, a 20-year software veteran with a background that spans expertise in emerging companies, Fortune 500, media, technology, enterprises globally. Joe led a very successful exit of a company she co-founded 10 years ago, is a former Ironman triathlete and heart surgery survivor. Whoa, where do we start with all of that, Joe?
I don't actually know, but it's lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's been one hell of a journey.
Yeah, one hell of a journey.
And one hell of a journey. And my I Am Sober app kicked up just an hour ago this morning saying, well done, you've been sober for 4 years, 4 months and 3 days, which is 1,584 days. And I have you to thank, and obviously, it takes a village, and actually in the case of 1 Year No Beer, it takes a community, and it takes a platform and a bunch of special human beings, coming together to share their stories, and this was never the plan. This was never, ever the plan, Rory. It was, I was going to do dry January. It snuck up on me. I was going to do dry January and call it a day. Let's see if we can get through 28 days. And that's originally what I signed up for. But yeah, the journey to get here has been an incredible one. And it's not until you get asked the question by somebody like you that you're like, where do we start with that? So it's been a crazy ride, and I'm very happy to be where I am today. So much gratitude for you and the team. So thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the podcast to share your story, and what an incredible story it is. So, and a journey, and all power to you. We just give the tools, and it's up to you. It's up to you to utilize them, right? So, well done to you. So why don't you give us a bit of, we've touched on a lot of things there, but why don't you give us a bit of background into Joe, and, this is the point to put into color a bit of that early growing up stuff. So yeah, give us a bit of background.
Yeah, sure. Would love to. So I grew up in the UK. I'm actually coming to you live from the States, where I've lived for 17 years now, but I grew up in the UK, and
No, it was a joke. You said you were living in the States. I'm like, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't even say I'm living in the state of New Jersey, which would have been totally justified for your I'm sorry. But I am leaving to go into the city later today, and, New York post-COVID, there's work to be done there. But I've been here for 17 years. It's been good to me. I have, dual citizenship. So I have a US passport, and I still have my UK passport. And my daughter was born here. She turns 14 this year. So, definitely built a good life here, full of opportunity. But I grew up in the UK, and honestly, the drinking age here is 21. And, the drinking age in the UK is actually 12. Now,
exactly. Well,
it's legally, it's 18. But
if you're not drinking by 12, then who the fuck are you? Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, what are you doing? So we, grew up in the UK, Gen X. So work hard, play hard. Anything you can do, I can do better. And going to school in the 90s meant that you were really at the forefront of wanting to do it all, right? You wanted to work like the men or the lads, and play like the lads, and party like the lads. In fact, there was at one point, and I don't know if you remember this, but there was a term called ladette.
Yes.
Sarah Cox. Sarah Cox and Zoe Ball, right?
That's it.
And we started drinking pints.
Love the football.
And even though I think it was more subconscious back then, it formed the foundation for what we call confidence.
Yeah.
And which is actually bonkers. So you think drinking gives you confidence to open up, it gives you confidence to be funny, or it gives you confidence to be sexy or to be in the in crowd. And staying to the end of the party meant you never missed out, right?
Yeah.
And it's like like wrong. But that was kind of how we all grew up.
Totally.
We just grew up like that, and we were going to the offie and we were buying, Magnus cider and 10 Embassy number 1 and having a jolly old time sitting in the park with our mates.
Yeah.
So that was kind of what felt normal. And I think, without really realizing what happens as you get older, you normalize that behavior and you don't actually realize that so much of what you're doing is using an inflammatory drug to kind of numb what your real feelings are. And I got caught up in the being too focused on the destination, right? And what I mean when I say that, Rory, is, when I get this promotion, I'll feel like I've won. Like when I get this salary increase, I'll feel like I've won. When I get this boyfriend, I'll have won. When I am successful in a male-dominated industry, like I'll feel like I've won. And actually, that's not true. It's about being present in the here and now and being the best version of yourself every single day. And I think one of the things that's not taught enough, in the same way that we did with cigarettes, like there's not that same thing that says, alcohol's bad for you. Yeah. What we've managed to do, what we've managed to do is say, oh, somebody gets married, like we all drink, there's a funeral, somebody dies, like we all drink, like there's all those things. And it's kind of crazy that we've just used it in such a socially acceptable way everywhere. Like you're stressed, your kids make you busy, you get home from work, you're tired, you pour a glass of wine. Like it's become so normal. And actually, alcohol is a depressant and it causes inflammation of the liver and the internal organs, but also of the brain. And it doesn't just do it the day of and the day after, it stays in your system for a long time. So I had to really do the work. And I think one point that's really important to make is for anybody listening, you don't have to be an alcoholic. Like I'm not saying that, I wasn't an alcoholic. I had an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. And I think that's true for many, many people. And it's about being able to get to a place where you say, I don't want to live my life like this. No, just one of the things that I think is really important point to make is you don't have to be an alcoholic, right? I think people have this idea in their heads, Rory, that you got to be drinking vodka at 8 a.m. To join something like 1 Year No Beer. Well, actually, it's not about that. It's about understanding that you don't necessarily feel, certainly for me, my whys were, I don't necessarily feel good professionally or personally in my mind or about my body, about my relationships, about my performance when I'm drinking. And it just meant that I wanted to know, what would it be like if I didn't have that? And when I tell you the amount of time that gets freed up by you no longer having an internal dialogue about, am I going to drink tonight? Yeah. And what am I going to drink? Am I going to have a glass of wine, or am I going to have a tequila and grapefruit? Yeah. And just all of those things. And, what I was finding was, my sleep was getting disrupted. And you make poor food choices the next day. You don't jump out of bed to go exercise. Like there's all these things that get impacted. And then, probably one of the big, obviously the big things for me was I did an Ironman the year I turned 40. So I did a full Ironman up in Lake Placid, which is a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and a full 26.2 marathon. And you have to do it in under 17 hours. So the year I turned 40, I set myself, you know, what may be considered like the ultimate goal. And again, I'd seen a bunch of guys do it, and I was like, you know, I can do an Ironman. So in a very short space of time, kind of trained from a sprint triathlon up to full Ironman distance, and had a fabulous time. 14 hours, 20 minutes ish. Real sense of achievement. Thank you. But then realizing that I didn't feel good afterwards. And that then resulted in 2 pretty serious ablation surgeries on my heart in 2015. And then in 2017, where I'd continued to live a life of, you know, now I've had this surgery, I'm okay again.
Right.
And convincing myself that I can still eat and drink and lift weights and, you know, go to all the conferences and build a business and fly. I flew every single week for work. So, wow. You know, all that kind of pressure on your body. And then I ended up in the ICU about to be resuscitated in 2017. And that was a real, that was an oh shit moment for me. And it was a realization that I was being selfish and that I had this fantastic, amazing daughter that was a badass and is a badass and I really wanted to stay around for. And that's when I cleaned up my diet, started seriously, like didn't drink for about 6 to 8 weeks, like really started to look into researching diet and how we can use functional medicine to like heal ourselves. Didn't want to be on a prescription drug for the rest of my life. So really wanted to get control of it. Started looking at meditation, actually did my 200-hour yoga teacher training. And again, all of these things started moving me in a direction of, I just want peace. I want the noise in my head to go away. Right? We can relate. So that was really the turning point for me. And then obviously, you know, I finally got divorced. Me and my ex have a fantastic relationship today. We co-parent Molly, and it's a relationship that I'm proud of. Like, and again, I'm showing up as the best version of myself, and I'm able to do that because I no longer drink. So that was the turning point. And I kind of went into my dry January, bloated, tired, miserable, you know, just at a point in my life where I was still traveling a lot and still working really hard. And I remember going to see my doctor in the States, who's hilariously funny and loves like taking the piss out of my British accent. And I said to him, you know, Pete, which was outrageous because everybody calls doctor like doctor over here. And I was like, Pete, I've not had a drink for 28 days and I still feel like shit. I haven't lost any weight and I still feel terrible. And he said to me, babe, it took you 45 years to get into this state. And believe it or not, it's not just going to take 28 days.
28 days.
28 days to like just reset everything in your life. And I was like, oh, but whether, you know, kind of us and the next generation, like we're the generation of instant gratification. What do you mean it's not going to fix itself immediately? Yeah. So then the work began. And I think it's work, right?
Before you go into the work, I want to dial us back a bit and reflect on some of the things you've just said. You know, amazing journey, and you know, well done to you for the journey so far. It's fantastic. You know, what you really highlighted on is something we always say, right? Is that alcohol doesn't have to be a problem to be causing problems. And for many people, you know, I never had a problem with alcohol. Everyone around me would say, you don't have a problem with alcohol. And that was
right.
That kept me stuck.
Same.
It's like, you don't have a problem. There's nothing wrong. Why are you even talking about this?
Yes.
You told the doctor your truth about the amount you're drinking. Why? What's the point? So there were all of these things, but I knew that it was causing these problems. And I could feel in the back of my mind it was holding me back. It was causing problems in my relationships. I wasn't present with my kids. So, give me some more from your perspective about the sort of things that were going on that made you want to change.
I think it was just, as you say, that overarching feeling of I'm short and I'm irritable and I'm tired and I'm not making good decisions. And at that point, honestly, we were already thinking about selling the business, right? And just the pressure that comes from being an entrepreneur or working with, my CEO and co-founder, like you understand that pressure, right? And, I was on a plane every week and, we were always looking at the numbers. So we were already thinking about an exit. And I'd got divorced and I was like, okay, so I'm 50-50 parenting, which means on the 50% that I'm with my daughter, I want to be awesome. I don't want to be lying on the couch nursing a hangover. And I have to tell you, Rory, I could drink, 2 glasses of wine after heart surgery and feel terrible the next day. Again, this wasn't like, oh, I'm going out on a bender. This was, if I'm out at dinner with some friends and I'm having a couple of glasses of red wine, my body would complain violently the next morning. Yeah. And it was one of those moments where I just sat there and I was like, why do you keep doing this?
Yeah.
It's the definition of insanity, right? You do the same thing over and over again, but you expect a different outcome. But it was really the culmination of those, those events which were making me look inward. I did the yoga teacher training, which is nothing to do with learning poses. It's all about going inward and asking yourself and finding calm, but also asking yourself if you're living your life with ease. And I was not living my life with ease.
No.
Right? And that plus getting divorced, plus, having to move house, getting ready to sell a company, I was like, you know what? I need clarity. And in order to get that, I have to try removing alcohol and see what it does for me. And
amazing.
And may the layers of the onion begin to peel.
Exactly.
I mean, you get 6 months in and you're like, oh my goodness. And then you get 9 months in and you're like, what? And then you get 12 months in and you hit your first year. And still, there are still things that I'm learning about myself today that I truly believe are, almost like forming new neuro pathways that years of the same stories that we tell ourselves. And actually, when you remove alcohol and you sync the spirit and the mind and the body and the soul and the heart, and you get that feeling of peace, it's gold. And all of those stories that you told yourself about alcohol giving you confidence.
Yeah.
You know what? True confidence comes when you can stand in your body and just know that you are enough.
Your own power.
Yeah.
You Joe, super, super strong. And, I know you're a proponent of the work. And I want to touch on what the work is from your perspective, because I know it'll line up very much with what we're doing. We'll come on to that in a second, or in a minute. But I'm just going to wheel back again to, you being in this ladette culture. Okay. So, obviously very driven from a young age. And part of you wanted to fit in. So you had the fit in part. But, part of that has led to your success, right? So the ladette culture probably was in part fit with the executive thing and rising up and being in male-dominated industries and fitting in and all that drive. So I'm not putting words in your mouth, but that through that journey, do you think it would have been different if you hadn't been drinking throughout all of that? How do you think it would have been different? And then what have you kind of unraveled, or looking back, what do you feel about that now from from those perspectives, from an alcohol-free perspective?
So no regrets, right? And that's more because like that's how I live my life, which is, I'm such a believer, Rory, and everything happens for a reason. Everything happens at the time it's supposed to. That being said, I wish somebody had taken me to one side in my late 20s, early 30s and said, this is what a life could be like without alcohol. I wish I'd started sooner.
Would you have?
Probably.
You would have told them to fuck off.
I would have said,
you sad bastard. Sorry, you're not drinking. Fuck off. You probably would have said that in your ladette style.
It wasn't in our vocabulary, was it? Yeah.
No. I mean, I was actively berating anyone who didn't drink. I mean, like, who the fuck is that weirdo? So I was the ringleader.
And we're pushers, right? I call it pushers, exactly. Right?
I was head pusher.
You're walking around and you're filling people's glasses up and all the stuff. And, I look back now to your point. Would I have listened? Me, probably not. What should have happened is after Ironman at 40, where I'd reduced my drinking, that's when I should have said, I'm not feeling very well. Let's just knock it on the head, son. But of course, I'm a type A, and I think the other thing is fair to say, certain industries promote it, right? So I went from fintech serving, Wall Street firms to then ad tech, which is, let's go to Cannes, darling, and drink rosé from 9 a.m. till midnight. I mean, literally. So you just caught up in this hamster wheel of, this is the way society presents it, and it's glamorous, and it's not glamorous at all. And honestly, in work, there's still a lot of people that are like, let's meet for a cocktail. I want to meet you at the bar later, because they want to hang out and talk business, but they don't actually want to talk business. They want to be seen with, the blonde with the British accent. And then I show up and I'm like, I'd like an Earl Grey tea. And they're like, because it's everyone's MO that you go to the bar at 4:00 and you order a drink and you start drinking. And then by 11, you've lost control of your, some of these people, the states they get into. And again, that wasn't me, but I would just wake up the next day and feel dreadful. And it was really, I think back to it now and I definitely have those moments of cringe.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, you don't really remember. It's a little bit blurry. You kind of leave, you get home, you wake up the next day. And what I'm inspired by is, raising a daughter and being a role model and, making sure that as she's starting to learn about drugs and alcohol and sex and everything that's on social media and all the pressures that come with being a teenager, that generation is saying more and more, why do you want to drink? You lose your phone, you fall on your face, you make an absolute tit out of yourself in front of people and you can't remember anything. Why would you actually want to do that? So I just hope that, and America is definitely behind the UK, Rory, in terms of alcohol-free options. I remember going to a conference in Vegas and I walk up and I'm like, do you have any alcohol-free options? And they look at me like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have water and we have soda. That's it. We have Coke. So, and then when I go back to the UK and I see my fam and I'm in the pub and there's 10 alcohol-free beer options. There's no Secco. There's all these great choices. So I want to educate Molly to understand that, it's a depressant and it's not the best use of time, money, resources, love, life, fun. There's other ways to find that. And, I want to just keep pushing that message out. And actually, when I mentor women in tech, one of the things they say to me is, your skin looks amazing and your eyes are so bright and your hair and blah, blah, blah. And I can't believe that you're 50 next year. And it's like, the best thing I did was I removed alcohol from my life. And that just opened up dietary changes. I'm not getting up in the morning going, I need a bacon and egg sandwich. Yeah, I need a full English to soak it up, right? I'm not there. And then I quit caffeine January 1st this year. That was like my last.
It's not easy to do. I'm on day 4.
Oh, are you?
I've done it a bunch of times before, but it just crept back in again. It's too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So day 4, I've been yawning and yawning and yawning and yawning, like constantly yawning. But I know it's such a good thing to do. Caffeine is just another one. It's so shit for us.
I know. It's another one. But yeah, good luck, mate.
Thanks. So that leads us beautifully. Like, as you're saying, Joe, is that you are a proponent of the work, and I think what we're seeing now in our programs, especially Complete Control, is that's what it's all about. It's not about. Yeah. It's about the work. Alcohol.
It's about the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what was the work for you?
The work for me is making sure you're consistent every day. Small, consistent changes. How many times have we heard like, okay, this week I'm going to stop drinking, stop smoking, lose weight, go to the gym 5 times, and then everyone fails, right? And what I tried to do when I started the work was, what are the things that ground me? What are the things that bring me back to the reasons why I stopped drinking alcohol? What are the things that make me feel calm, like all of that stuff. So I've got a meditation practice. I try and do 20 minutes twice a day. I usually only get 20 minutes once a day. I'm trying to get to twice a day. I do hot yoga is my thing, because after heart surgery, I couldn't go back to endurance sport. So I was no longer allowed to push my body physically for huge periods of time. So hot yoga became my grounding, right? And again, a sense of community. So my yoga studio that I go to is a community, right? We know each other, we lift each other up, we sweat together, we breathe together, we move together, and it is like a moving meditation. So that was really big for me. But the small consistent changes, like getting up at the same time every day, Monday through Friday. James Clear's book Atomic Habits, if you haven't read it, read it. And not necessarily thinking that what you would have thought as a kid was boring, but like kind of doing the same thing every day, right? And the other thing I've done, Rory, is I calendar everything, right? And I've listed out my non-negotiables. So now, I take my daughter to school on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning, like non-negotiable, right? Because before COVID, I didn't do that. And okay, I was still married and now I'm not. So, I had to do, but those are the things, like making sure I'm there for school pickup, like just things to me that I put in my calendar every single day to make sure I can be successful. 7 hours of sleep a night, in terms of diet, like not eating meat is a big thing for me. Not eating dairy is a big thing for me. So that was the work. But actually, the biggest work is realizing that the answer is not at the end of a finish line. It's not in the next promotion. It's not in the next pay increase. The answer is right here. You have everything you need inside of you to figure out what work you need to do. And the other thing that I want to encourage everybody is to listen to the whispers, because very often there's so much noise in our lives that we don't listen to the whisper. And when you sit quietly, you can actually reconnect with yourself. You can reconnect with your breath, and you can start to do the work. And it's really not work. It's just different to how you've been used to operating, which is like, in a hamster wheel, going at 1,000 miles an hour. So, I got therapy. I came off antidepressants the exact same day that I stopped drinking alcohol, which again, for the first month was like putting my head in a meat grinder. But I wanted to be done, and I'm an all or nothing kind of girl. So it was all or nothing for me. But the work is self-care. And so many people still don't understand that term. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is, please put on your own oxygen mask before helping others. And when you put on the oxygen mask and you start to breathe, you can show up as the best version of yourself, and you can help so many more people, because all of a sudden you have gratitude and you want to be able to share that, and you have integrity, and you can show up and do what you said you were going to because you're not hungover, and it's things like that then as that starts to build, you start to say, wow, this feels great. And when you put positivity out to the world, you get positivity back. And there was a point in my relationship that I really want to share. So I've been dating my boyfriend for coming up, it'll be 3 years this summer, and he is my biggest cheerleader for my sobriety. And he really helps me show up as the best version of me. And it was early days of our relationship, and we were doing something, and, we were goofing around. We were outside. The sun was shining. We were like in nature, like in the trees. I feel like we were hiking or running. I think we were hiking, and we'd just done like a really big hill. And I was like, oh my God, this feeling. And he's like, yes, it's happiness. And it was really interesting, because having done heart surgery and then divorce, there'd been a ton of heavy shit. And it was kind of like that childlike feeling is accessible when you do the work. And I feel like as we get older and there's more and more pressure, we all want to feel like a kid again. We all want to feel free, at peace, less worried, less neurotic, right? We all want to feel those things. And that's what the work's meant for me.
Amazing, 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 amazing. Let's pause just for a brief moment. I just want to share with you some of the heartfelt feedback from our incredible Complete Control community members. Listen to this.
I don't know how I signed up. I think I just got an ad on Instagram and just got a whim, just hit the button and did a call and then signed up, and didn't really consciously think much about it. And then after that, I was like, what did I just sign up for? Wait a second here. Far exceeded my expectations. I'm usually extremely skeptical, so I don't know how I even signed up in the first place, but whatever it was. So it's just amazing how the transformation that I've seen, and even the drinking part is just kind of it was the Achilles heel, but it's kind of just the superficial problem. And it's like, once I kind of clear that up, there's so much more possibility. And the exploration discussions with Gary, with Candace, have just been so powerful, and they both kind of focus on a different area. And then with Glenn kind of looking at my data, and with my cohorts or classmates, or it's just been everything has just been so powerful and kind of supportive of completing the whole picture of how I do this. So just really grateful, and yeah, and also just feel more grateful, and not only just for all of you, but just in life in general. It's just a little bit more clarity and peace and calm and so forth. So
I am incredibly grateful for this entire program, for everybody on this call, and everything that we were able to experience. I think that it delivered more than I expected. Honestly, I like I've said before, I've done a couple of challenges and different things, and I think that this, beyond examining my relationship with alcohol and making, I think, pretty good strides in staying alcohol free, I think it taught me a ton about myself and how to examine my habits and my thoughts and those kind of patterns and ways to approach the things that worried me the most in this experience have just been invaluable. I think I'm leaving feeling stronger in general, more self-aware in general, and just really more anchored in who I want to be and what my values are and how I can, take better steps to achieve those. So it's been fantastic for me. And again, our team, I really appreciate all the feedback and support from every single person on this call, but my cohort as well. It's been great.
So I love everybody that I've met here. I have loved the program. I am not an emotional person like this, but this has changed my life. It has given me a life. And there's other things I need to do too. But I don't have to do them with alcohol anymore. So thank you.
It's been an amazing journey, and I appreciate the professionalism. Whenever I feel the stress, there's something that I can go back to everybody, and the sharing from everybody and the professionalism of the program. So I loved it, and I've grown a lot. So
Woohoo!
and kisses.
One word is transformational. That's a word that's been bandied about for decades, but in this, it is absolutely accurate if I was to use one word. This was a great investment. It's not self-help, it's self-realization. It's super powerful, but it exceeded my expectations. Or maybe it was Sharon who said that. Or maybe I'm exceeding my expectations, and I like that.
I mean, the program has been I'm hugely grateful for the program. I think the journey for myself has been amazing. I mean, I remember telling, I don't know if it was Candace or Gary, the first 3 or 4 weeks of the program, I was like, I can't stop thinking about not drinking. It's in my head. Every day I'm thinking about not drinking. And it's like now I'm not even thinking about it. It's just like my life has sort of stepped on. I'm excited about the future. Things are looking good.
I just love sharing the things people are saying about our Complete Control program. Okay, let's get back into the episode. I also want to give you some more kudos because I think you've highlighted how much work you did there. I love the way you went, and I got a therapist, and that's probably in my opinion, that's probably one of the biggest and of the work that you've done that has shifted you. So if I look at our program, Complete Control, which we put together to help business owners and execs understand the reasons why alcohol is showing up it is and to change them. If we touch on some of the things, which I'm just going to rattle through, and then I'm going to link them back to your story. So as a core example, right, we remotely monitor people to see their central nervous system. We show how stress is showing up. Now, you've transformed your relationship with stress. You've removed a lot of it. You've introduced yoga, meditation, better routines, all of those kind of things like that, right? And also you've shifted the part into the business. So a big part of people, and you actually mentioned this in the text you sent me, is about barking up the wrong tree or realizing that you're perhaps going in the right direction, right? Meaning and purpose, that is a major driver of compulsive behavior for people. And so you changing and shifting that to a better lifestyle that suits you with your non-negotiables, right, is a really core element to you being in the place you are. Right. You mentioned about divorce, and I'm going to pause and then let you comment on what I've just said, because I know I'm waffling a lot, I'm talking a lot here, but you mentioned about divorce. You spoke previously about how your husband was a big drinker and was a proponent of that drinking culture. I'd be interested to touch that because relationships is a major thing that we touch on again. Like if core relationships are bent out of shape, then you're going to want to numb out. You're going to want to eat cake or drink alcohol. It's just how it goes. But you've been brave enough to make that transition. And I think there's probably a lot of women out there who feel like they should make that. So why don't you tell us about how you came to that place, what made you make that decision, and where you are? Big one. So.
No, it's okay. It's just heavy stuff. And I'll start by saying it would have been a lot easier to stay married. Right? It's not easy.
Totally.
And one of the things for me, I think, was, I came over to the States I got married, and my husband, you know, his father was an alcoholic. Like, there was just a lot of alcohol was normalized, let's say that. And it wasn't a problem initially, but I was 3,500 miles away from my family and my culture and my home. And he has a very big family that kind of would make me feel pretty smothered at times. Like, it was overwhelming. And to your point, like, then, you know, we're sitting on the beach and it's beers on the beach, and then it's cocktail hour, and then it's, you know, and then it goes on until late in the night. And then you wake up the next morning and you feel dreadful, and then you do it again, right? And after my daughter was born, I already, like, probably 2 or 3 years after that, I started to get the sense of we're in trouble. And we lost the ability to communicate. And I think, again, that was hampered by alcohol, in the sense that we were in a permanent state of depression or inflammation of some description. And I think this is one of the things that people just don't realize.
They don't realize.
They do not realize the continued effect of alcohol. Even if you're, oh, I only go on a bender on a Friday and a Saturday, it doesn't matter.
Or
like,
just have a drink a day.
Or I just have a drink a day.
Just
like,
on that one,
yeah,
is that we use a device that shows people just how harmful it is. Like, it's like giving yourself the flu, and your immune system is working so hard. Your central nervous system is completely bent out of shape.
Yeah,
ruining your sleep. You know, your body is now solely fighting a disease,
right,
instead of processing weight loss or improving cells or increasing neuroplasticity. All of those things.
Yeah.
So we show people that in the data,
and it's crazy, right? So I've done a lot of work on like cleansing the liver. The liver is the biggest fat burning organ in the body, and it regulates everything, right? Cellular level, hormones, endocrine system, blah blah blah. And again, like, if you'd have said this to me 5 years ago, I'd be like, like, you know,
fine.
It's fine.
Another
it's
one.
fine.
We used to say, you can always get another one these days, right?
You can always get another one. I know, it's terrible. Again, it's terrible. Like, we're so disposable. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But for me, like, we struggled. We really struggled on the marriage, and I couldn't accept. So there was a couple of things, actually. I couldn't accept that the rest of my life was going to be this emotion of I'm unhappy, right? And I'm having to use alcohol, subconsciously or not, to numb my feelings away.
Yeah.
And I also couldn't accept, because I wasn't, again, this was where I had the challenge. I was successful, right? I was successful in business. I was successful as a public speaker. I mentored people. I had a beautiful baby girl. You know, there was all these things that, like, you know, you tick the boxes on. And I was successful in my career, and I worked out a lot. You know, I was in good shape. Like, all of those things that are indicators that everything's fine.
Smash it, exactly.
Yeah. I'm smashing it. But actually, the one thing that I would talk about with my therapist was the one thing that, like, the most important thing was my marriage, and I'd failed at it. And it was the relearning for me of using that language to say, you haven't failed at it, right? This is just people go in different directions. People are different. You know, people realize that, you know, maybe it wasn't the right relationship for them. And it took a long time. It took me a long time to come to terms with the fact that I was going to end up getting a divorce. And it was painful. Molly was, 9 years old, and we had to sit her down and say that mommy and daddy are going to live in separate houses and are not going to be married anymore. And it was, kids are more resilient than adults. And it was probably harder for us in that moment than it was for her. And since then, you realize just how selfish you've been in some of the choices that you've made. And, you have that short fuse where you get mad and you blame everybody else. And actually, it's not anybody else's fault. It's yours.
Yeah.
And it's not that we're here to say, it's your fault that it failed. It's just the acceptance that this relationship wasn't the right one for us, and that we can be happy with somebody else and we can be happy in a different scenario. And actually we can be great friends and be fantastic co-parents. And actually when we finally got divorced, I sat at the same table as my ex-husband in the courtroom. And, this is America, right? So there is an armed police officer in the courtroom, and the judge comes in and she's like, why are you sitting at the same table? And it's like, well, this is the father of my child. I have to talk to this person every single day for probably, like the rest of our lives. Like, this is about being amicable and doing the right thing. And actually, the big thing for me is teaching my daughter, like, when it's birthdays or whatever, like, you celebrate that person because it's the right thing to do. And you come from a place of forgiveness in a relationship that didn't work, and you get forgiveness back. So yes, it was hard. Should I have done it sooner? Yes. Yeah. As I say, sit and listen to the whispers inside you. Female intuition is a superpower. Don't ignore it. She's always right.
Yeah.
And, sit and listen to that, and then have the strength to go do it. And having the strength came from yoga and all the things that I'd started to implement. And yeah, scary as hell. But
well done, Joe. Well done.
Coming out the other side, bajillion% worth it. And now I'm in a relationship that brings me, like, I will start crying. I'm in a relationship that I never thought I would be in, and it makes me the happiest I've ever been in my life.
That's so amazing. Well done to you. Like, having the bravery and the insight to do that. This is what we help people with, because, as I mentioned, so many people are in relationships. Doesn't mean that we're encouraging people to get divorced.
No,
9 times out of 10, we're encouraging people to stay together.
Yes.
But we help them get right into the core of it. We help them understand. You can't see the wood for the trees, and you working with your therapist and trying to pull these things together to get to, well, what is the truth? Because often relationships are just so embroiled in tit for tat and stuff and duty and all of the nonsense. And for a separate podcast, we do have to question the whole system. I think
we do
going forward. I think the system is broken.
Right.
We'll get onto that.
Yeah, that's a story for another day. Totally.
Another day.
Yeah.
So Joe, what does the future hold for you? What are you up to?
So obviously sold the company last February, March, and completed the integration December. So one of the things I did was thank you. I took 3 months off.
Well, that's the start.
So encourage everyone, if you've gone through a major life situation, take some time. And I actually said that I used the phrase, Rory, I'm in recovery. I'm in recovery from running a company and selling it for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And what's next for me is I want to share, right? I want to give back. I want to help others become the best version of themselves, whether I'm mentoring them, whether I'm a board member and I'm coaching, helping other CEOs be successful. My number one priority is my daughter. I want to help and support her to be successful. I want to be the best role model I can possibly be for her, no matter what. And, I just want to continue in this fabulous relationship that I'm in. And if doubt ever creeps in, I also want to say to people, don't think I'm like, oh, that's it, I'm done, right? We're all a work in progress. I'm continuing to learn every day. I look at my 1 year No Beer Facebook group every single day, right? I'm still like Sharon, Drew, Annie, Colin, Matty, Charlotte, Linz, H, like there's still my crew who, we check in with each other and we're like, oh my God, like legends. I just want to keep, I just want to keep sharing my story. Actually, Rory, somebody said to me the other day, you need to write a book. So who knows?
Well, please don't write it, because no, I don't mean like that. I just mean that now we have these wonderful tools. Like, you can optimize that experience down now to be like a few vocals and it's written for you. No, I'm kidding you. Go and write the book.
Go and write the book. Go and write the book. I just feel like we're blessed every day. We wake up on this amazing planet. Don't waste it in a blur of drink or drugs. Join a community full of amazing humans who will support you no matter what. I mean, one of the things that, 1 Year No Beer has been so amazing at is the zero judgment, right? We have people coming back that have done 60-day ones that need a hand on their back. They need help. They need light bringers. And I'm a light bringer. And what am I doing next? We'll see.
The light.
I'm bringing the light, mate. I'm trying to undo, some of society's need to push us all to drink. And obviously, I wouldn't be here without you. I'm eternally grateful and humbled for the support of my journey. And I always say, life on the other side is full of color, and it's strange when you hear me say that. Like, you're like, what do you mean? And it's like, I felt like so much of my earlier life was like, when you move in a photo quickly and it's blurred and it's just black. And I feel like, we go through life so almost like we're just not present, right? We're busy, it's noisy, it's overload, whatever it is. And I just urge everybody, just to take those moments, because when you say live life in color, when you actually give up alcohol and you show up every day as the best version of yourself, like you see these pictures behind me, like life is bright colors. And that's what I want to bring to everybody else, right? I'll never go back. And I look forward to living my life in full color, but I will continue to say to everybody, the work never stops, right? Even though I say, like, in this moment, I'll never go back, but you never know what's in front of you. So it's about, how do I always have the tools that I need to be successful? And when I say successful, I no longer mean get the job or get the pay rise or get the promotion or sell the company or do an Ironman or any of that crazy shit. When I say be successful, I mean have that feeling every day that your heart is full and that you're showing up and being the best role model and the best person that you can be.
Woohoo! Love that. Mic drop. Exit, everyone. That's it. That's a wrap. We got it. Amazing, Joe. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, and can't wait to see what you get out there in the world to create next. How do people find out more about you?
LinkedIn, Instagram is, now you're asking, Joe_Rosefire, I think. Joe Croft.
Links in the show notes.
Yeah, Joe Croft on Facebook. And people can find me on LinkedIn. I'm in the community.
It's Joe Croft Inside Challenges.
Yeah, Inside Challenges. And what a journey it has been, truly. Thank you.
You're a warrior, so thank you. And thank you. That's the thing we can do just now is just keep spreading the word, keep inspiring people and leading from the front, leading by example, and just show people another way. So kudos to you.
Thank you. I'm here for it. Cheers, mate.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Of course.